AARO and the government are at it again.
Officially cracked one of its most high-profile UFO investigations, revealing in a hearing on Capitol Hill it was nothing more than a trick of the eye. Earlier this week, the director of the Defense Department's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office testified on the case, saying the object was not out of the ordinary, but rather caused by an illusion.
Looks like an object flying very fast over the water, very close to the water. We assess with high confidence that the object is not actually close to the water, but is rather closer to 13,000 feet. A trick of the eye called parallax makes it look like the object is moving much faster.
A parallax effect. Of course the news is going to run with that story. Where have we heard something along these lines? Like, oh yeah, Roswell? They love to twist the story. That's what they get a giggle out of. And the government is really good at covering this up. But why don't we hear from the people who were actually at this event?
Because we were in F-18Fs, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat. Looked down saw a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water like a ping-pong ball. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings. As we started clockwise towards the object, my Wizzo and I decided to go down and take a closer look with the other aircraft staying in high cover to observe both us and the tic-tac. We proceeded around the circle about 90 degrees from the start of our descent, and the object suddenly shifted its longitudinal axis, aligned it with my aircraft, and began to climb. We continued down another 270 degrees, nose low, where the tic-tac, or we considered 270 degrees to where, and we went nose low to where the tic-tac would have been. Our altitude at this point was about 15,000 feet, and the tic-tac was about 12,000. As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingmen, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the whitewater was at, and it was gone also. So as we started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cat point roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute. You can calculate the speed." We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to them, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar, and I can get into modes later if you're interested.
Yep. That's just a random object with a parallax effect. Totally fake. Speaking there was actually David Fravor, who was the pilot of one of the jets. But let's go ahead and carry on. Up next, Mr. Gallaudet.
Here we go. My confirmation came in 2015. Okay, and in one of those videos, and one of those aviators that Leslie mentioned, Ryan Graves, was flying off this ship, the USS Theodore Roosevelt, in 2015 during an exercise called Comp 2X. I was a one-star admiral. My sailors were on that ship forecasting weather. That was my job, weather and oceanography. And these pilots were having multiple encounters with these things. I get an email on Navy's secret network, and it was from the operations officer of the U.S. Fleet Forces Command, the four-star admiral in charge of this exercise. And the title of the email on the secret network was Urgent Safety of Flight Issue. And the text was very brief, but alarming, and it said, "If any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We're having numerous near mid-air collisions, and we're going to have to shut down the exercise if we don't resolve this." And attached was the Go Fast video, where you hear all the pilots' expletives and all that, because they were astonished at this stuff. And it was happening all the time. For a two-star admiral to shut down an exercise that was a pre-deployment workup, very compressed, got to get the ships out, got to get the pilots qualified on the carrier. It's the pressure is insane. For him to even talk about shutting down the exercise was I've never seen it before. And these things were doing it. So, by the way, there are debunkers out there that talk about this Go Fast video possibly being just a balloon, and there were so many of them out there and so much was occurring. A two-star would not shut down that exercise or even talk about it if it was just a bunch of balloons. They were sure this was safety of flight. And Leslie talked about the section being split, the two aircraft. It was serious. So I saw that and I knew immediately, well, we don't do technology demonstrations in U.S. training areas. We just don't do it because of the pressure of workup cycles. And so I was pretty convinced at that time, okay, this is not our tech. I knew it wasn't China or Russia tech because I'd been reading all the threats. I had secret access program access, and I knew, okay, this is something different. but I couldn't say much about it, and I'll talk about that later. Later, I know what happened. That email was wiped from my computer the next day, and my boss and the operations officer never talked about it in different meetings. How did that happen? Because this gentleman in charge of the UAP task force at the time directed that the email be taken off because that he wasn't sure if that was U.S. tech or not, as Leslie mentioned. Jay Stratton, he led that task force, and he actually that little symbol in the middle, he just got an award this year for leading his effort to investigate UFOs by the current director of national intelligence, which is quite astonishing. It kind of reveals the sort of fractured nature of our UAP policy right now, that he gets an award, but we don't talk about it. I don't know what. So that's a whole other thing. But that email was wiped from my computer because Jay directed it so, and they were trying to investigate. Is that U.S. tech, adversary tech, or something different? And ultimately, I've communicated with Jay, and we realize now it was not U.S. tech, and it was not adversary tech. It's something different, and we don't know what it is.
Y'all are adults and you're able to make your own personal decisions. I'm not here to persuade you. I'm just here to show you the facts. First one, David Fravor actually was speaking under oath. Just saying. Moving forward, what's the game plan if the media is out here pulling this kind of stuff? Where do we go? Well, apparently we ain't having it on the UFO front. So get ready. Listen to what Dr. Greer has to say.
Pivoting to, which is very important, is that we're sort of moving beyond the whistleblower phase, and we're advocating for a group that are now defecting from these covert black sites, who will hand over to us the dispositive evidence and proof, which we will then provide to you, Bianca, and the media. This is a very bold step. This is a very bold step. This is something that's just happened. We have a special access project within law enforcement working with us, as well as a group of people who are at 6 different black sites running programs, including reverse engineering ET craft and the man-made ones.
I want you to come back and discuss this, and I think Americans are ready. The world is ready. They want this information out, and Dr. Greer, if anyone can do it, you can.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe this is a setup, but either way, I'm super excited to see new videos coming out. I cannot wait. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.